Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 509, we're going to talk about Kamahl Pit Fighter. That's right, two mono red decks in a row. However, this is probably as far away from the other mono red as you can get. They are on opposite ends of the spectrum. Kamahl Pit Fighter is the 6-1 hasty 6-mana tap to lightning bolt. I mean, he's just Zeus throwing around lightning bolts. Anyway, so it's like, well, how do I build this? And a lot of times, I don't know what's the term, method builder. I don't know. I try to get into the mind of the commander sometimes, and just especially when I'm having a hard time deciding. And Kamahl's been out for a very long time, but this particular one, I said, you know what? He wants to tap to deal some damage, so let's do that. Now we got his his BFF Jill. Okay, so we're going to start. Keep in mind, Kamahl taps for 3 damage. So we got a new best friend in Throne of Eldraine, Torbrand, Thane of Redfell. So now, with Torbrand out, he taps for 5 damage, which is a chunk. Now this is not commander damage, so you are literally going to have to do 40 points worth of damage. Well, probably not all, because the other players are going to attack and block and spend life and whatnot. But just be ready to be able to deal 120 damage. I mean, that's... So, how are we going to do that? Torbrand's going to help out quite a bit. Now, we obviously have no, there isn't like a dwarf tutor. Man, that would be cool. I mean, there is a dwarf tutor, but anyway, I'm not putting it in here. Anyway, but we have Torbrand. Now, since Kamahl is a creature, gratuitous violence is going to double it. So he goes from 3 to 6. Or if you got Torbrand, if you got that lucky, then, from 5 to 10. Dictate of the Twin Gods is kind of another one. It's a little trickier because it's everybody. Now, I'm not running Furnace of Wrath. That would be awesome. But it's another, okay, I've got to say it, double-edged sword. Because, who doesn't like a double-edged sword? It's a sword with 2 edges. I think that was actually a Kamahl quote, was it not? Anyway, Dictated Twin God is another doubler, so this gets us from 3 to 6. Or, if we're living in Magical Christmas Land and we've got everything, then we've got Torbrand and both of these out. What is that? Tapping for 5, 10. Now we're tapping for 20 damage. Overblaze. Now, it's a one-shot deal. You cast it and target permanent deals double damage this turn only. So that's another doubler. So, if we're living the dream, we could be tapping him for a huge amount of damage. But that's the thing. We're just tapping him. So let's untap him, right? Okay. Let's do it as many times as we can. Y'all know I'm running the Umber Mantle. It's one of my favorites. It does cost 3 mana to untap it. So, and incidentally, it gets bigger. I don't even think this card needs that line of text. That's, as the EDH Red guys say, that's gravy. Sword of the Params. It's another 3 mana to untap it. Then we have Thousand Year Elixir. 1 mana, but it's only 1 use, to untap it. Mage Right Stone. Untap it because he's got a tap ability. Thornbite Staff. Now, Thornbite Staff is kind of different. Whenever a creature is put into a graveyard from play, untap this creature. So, if creatures are killing you, and as long as you can tap Kamahl for however much damage he's doing, as long as you can tap him to kill something, if he's wearing the staff, it's going to untap it. Ooh. Yeah, so you can literally, like in the old days, Goblin Sharpshoot your way to a clear board. Puppet Strings is also an untap. With the added benefit of you can tap something down if you need to, but like if you turn 3 of Puppet Strings and you don't have the mana to, cast your commander yet, you can save yourself. But check this one out. Jandor Saddlebags. Now, yes, 3-mana tap, untap a creature. Now, this was the original untap a creature. I believe this was in Antiquities, if I'm not. No, Arabian Nights. I'm sorry. Arabian Nights. Um, yeah, yeah. Believe it or not, when I listed this deck on Archidect, I had. Now, I don't have every deck on there yet. I'm still actively working on the backlog. I've got a couple hundred decks listed, but I've never used Jandor Saddlebag before today. So, yeah. Now, but what if we could find other ways to untap it? Now, introducing Ashnod's Transmogrant. Now, Ashnod's Transmogrant puts a 1/1 counter on a creature, and that creature becomes an artifact creature. Right? So now we've got things. We can use things that untap target artifact, like Voltaic Key, or Manifold Key, or even better than that, Unwinding Clock, just untapping every single untap step. 4 or 5 rounds, or 4 or 5 untaps per round of the table. Sounds pretty good. Not to mention, Kamahl does cost 6 mana. And, that's a bunch, especially for a 1-power commander, because he's probably getting dead a lot. So, we're going to have to recast him. Just hands down, we're just going to have to. So, we've got some mana rocks in here. We have several things. We have Soul Ring, Thran Dynamo, Hedron Archive, Heraldic Banner, Prismatic Lens, Spectral Searchlight, Iron Mirror, Solum Simulacrum, which I'm counting as ramp because, it's cards and it's lands. Walking Atlas is just going to straight put extra lands into play that we happen to draw. Seething Song, Mana Geyser. I'm telling you, I don't think I've ever resolved a Mana Geyser and haven't gotten double-digit mana. Ironcrag Feet. We're going to try this one because you know what? I cast one more spell this turn. Ideally, we're using that mana to untap our guy anyway over and over again. We've got a Plague Mirror. Nothing really special there. Except, it is a mana dork. But what got me thinking was I was like, Plague Mirror, it's another mana ramp. And then I thought, wait a minute. What about a Grafted Exoskeleton? What if I put the Grafted Exoskeleton on Kamahl? I no longer have to deal 40 points of damage. Now I only have to deal 10 points of damage to each player. Huh. Yeah, right? Blinkmoth Urn. We're going to get a ton of mana because we are using just so many artifacts. So many artifacts. I've got a few more here that actually kind of care about artifacts. We've got Junk Diver, more than likely, to we're going to get the Ashnod's Transmogrant back, or whatever they've killed. Now, keep in mind, if you turn Kamahl into an artifact, you can't use this to go get it from the graveyard, because in the graveyard it's not an artifact, it's just a creature. But anyway. New Retriever. Liquid Metal Coating, because that could come in handy. Because if you have, not drawn your Ashnod's Transmogrant and you've drawn your Voltaic Key, you got your Liquid Metal Coating, hey, it's till end of turn, why not? So let's look at some card draw, shall we? Y'all know what Red's card draw is. It's Faithless Looting. It's Dangerous Wager. Magmatic Insight. Wild Guess. We're discarding and drawing, right? Thrill of Possibility. And that's just kind of what Red does. It's got that and Temporary Card Draw, which reveal top, you play on this turn, whatever. But I chose to discard and then draw because of cards like Bag of Holding. It's a great card. You get all those discard cards back. Now, Candles of Ling is kind of humorous. It's in our format, It's a better JM Daytona, and I know JM Daytona is not like the bar we measure things against, okay? But you reveal the top card of your library, it is not going to have the same name as a card in your graveyard, more than likely. I mean, if somebody's just short a mountain or we've discarded, you know, you put it in your graveyard, otherwise you draw it. So I'm going to say 99. I have never not drawn a card off Candles of Lane in Commander. I only got just a couple more creatures, and they are just utility. You know, Bone Crusher Giant I've got in there because it's the damage can't be prevented this turn, because that's a real issue. Um, Especially when we're talking about just doing straight damage. Preventing damage is bad. Circara the Bold. Yeah, it's an instant or sorcery or her. Okay. She taps to deal a point of damage, which is still good with Torbrand, still good with doublers. So that's the thing. And, you know, there's the, exile on the card and cast and play and stuff like that. Now, we're playing with Smoke. Nobody can untap more than one creature. You know what? All I want to untap is one creature. This is a one-trick pony deck. We're going all the way, putting all the money on Kamahl. He is our man. Jay Ballard. It occurs to me that I have not played with Jay Ballard. I don't think I've ever actually put her in the deck. This is one of those weird foils that's like the Ripple foil. Mass Hysteria. I realize he already has haste. For the life of me, I can't remember why Mass Hysteria is in there, because he's already got haste. It's not like we're swinging with Kara or Bone Crusher. Huh. This must have been a card where I had it in the box from a long time ago, and I just never... See? I build a deck. I even took the time and listed the deck. But now, here I am. This card somehow snuck its way into the deck, and it doesn't really belong. There's no use for it. So this is what we're going to call a slot. So as another untap or another, if I get another doubler, a damage doubler, this might be where my Furnace Wrath goes. Who knows? Price of Progress, because that's just straight up damage. That's all there is. Insult to Injury, there again, damage can't be prevented. Along the same line, Thran Lens, it serves kind of two purposes. Yes, it's an artifact on the board, but it's also blanks out all that protection from red. Well, at least from Kamahl, because all permanents become colorless. He's colorless. He's not red. Hey, protection from red. I know back when I started playing, Circles of Protection were a huge thing. They're not in Commander for some reason I don't understand. They're amazing. They're 2-drop enchantments for your enchantment decks. I don't get it. But anyway. And then I have Grafdigger's Cage. Just for graveyard hate. Yeah, that's it. Just for graveyard hate. And, I mean, I've got a little more hate here. Keep in mind, this is a super linear deck, okay? You know, we are ignoring the combat step. We are, I mean, you know, all our marbles out in the middle. So I don't feel bad when I do things like Flash Fire or Boiling Seas. Now, let's look at some removal. I put Gorilla Shaman in the removal spot because, let's face it, it is. And it's amazing with like a liquid metal coating, especially if we've got tons of mana. Maybe a Mana Flare might do something awesome in here. I don't know. I'm running Smash just simply because it is destroying artifact. I'll pay that extra mana to draw that card. That's fine. I am running probably some suboptimal cards, I'm not going to lie. Shock. Yeah, Lightning Bolt would be better, but you know what? Shock has the quality that I have, and I am out of Lightning Bolts at the moment. So, of course, Pyroblast. and red elemental blast. The last thing that we won't have done is cyclonic rifted, because once we've got all of our artifacts down there and our untappers and so much setup, we want this to happen, and I don't want the rift. Active volcano is kind of it won't get rid of a rift, but destroy target blue permanent or bounce an island. It might work. Incinerate magma jet just for that scry 2. A braid. Me and my buddy Danny were talking about this Friday. A braid's a great card. I mean, it's I went to list it, and I guess y'all know it's a great card because it's still a couple of bucks. But you hardly don't see it in Commander. Yeah, it's a lightning bolt or a shatter for the price of a shatter. Okay, no, it's not a lightning bolt. You can't hit a player. So it's 3 damage to a creature or a shatter. So you get a shatter or whatever the 3 damage to creature is. Anyway, good solid card. I like it almost as much as I like Burnout. Now, from Alliances, this one, I've never seen this card cast that wasn't me casting it. Yeah, you counter a spell if it's blue, and then you get to draw a card. What? And then our last non-land card is Disintegrate, because you know what? Why not? I mean, we got that Mana Geyser, and sometimes you just oops into 30 mana on Mana Geyser, and you can just, headshot somebody. And the part I love about Disintegrate, this is a joke from 25 years ago, y'all. The reason why Disintegrate's better than Fireball, of course, Fireball you can bounce around, but Disintegrate, after you kill a player, you remove them from the game. I got 4 non-basic lands, Forgotten Cave, Desert of the Fervent, and Smoldering Crater, because, cycling lands. There are times when we draw these, and we don't need any more lands. We can just cycle them away. I know not everybody believes that way, but it's 3 slots. It's 3 more chances to draw something else that's not a land at a time where you don't want to draw a land. And then, of course, our last card is Myriad Landscape, just for the ramp, But that is what we've got for Kamahl. Of course, we've got our, whole bunch of millions of basic mountains there. Kamahl out. I am actually really, really excited to play this deck, just because, tapping for damage, it's hard to kind of, win a game with that, especially if you're doing it with your commander, just 1 creature. So, but that is deck number 509. Almost done with the first row and the 6th block. So, I do appreciate y'all watching. Y'all let me know what you think, and don't forget, Saturday, December 14th, meet me out at the Collectors Connection in Dyersburg, Tennessee. You can find it on the Wizards store locator. It's right on the bypass out there. If you can, stop on by, play some games with me. I'll bring some of the channel's life pads, and we'll have a good time. I appreciate y'all watching, but right now, I think it's time to shuffle and cut.